All our lives are nothing but a journey. And in this journey, there is an element of purpose discovery, purpose ownership, and purpose deployment. And that one is also a journey in and of itself. I think the happy person is the person who has morphed the two, that his life or her life is a journey and his purpose is connected to his life. In other words, your purpose is a lifetime. But when we're talking about your purpose being a lifetime and being a journey, we're not necessarily saying that your purpose shields you from being blindsided and having a setback and having a crisis and all these kinds of things, these dark things, the uncertainties that happen in your life. There is a downside of your purpose pursuit, and that's what we're discussing in these episodes. And in today's episode, I want us to look at one downside of purpose pursuit that you will need to understand and to come to terms with as early as possible. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Alright, so let us do a quick recap here that helps us to understand where we've come from and where we're going. We're talking about the downsides of purpose. We're saying that pursuing purpose doesn't necessarily insulate you from a crisis, insulate you from a sudden something in the negative that happens into your life, something that blindsides you. You know, it is part and parcel of life. Why? Because we're living in a dark, fallen world, which is not smooth, which is not promising everything is going to be straight. And even if everything, we try as much as possible to fend off anything and everything from off our lives, at the end of the day, we still die. And we are fighting and trying to fight and trying to fight. Sometimes the fighting that we're doing against the elements of life and against the crisis of life, at times those things are useless. You find yourself so much invested in trying to elevate a problem that has not come up yet, to such an extent that you're not even giving yourself an opportunity to be alive. And so the way to do life is to do life, as in do life, live, and if something comes up that you need to deal with, you deal with it as you keep going. But at least you don't shy away from life and shy away from doing life. And therefore, I'll be the worst guy to tell you that when you get to discover your purpose, and that's one of the most beautiful things you can ever do, that when you get to the level where you're discovering your purpose, that everything will now be sorted. Your life will now be 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. As easy as that. I will be lying to you. Discovering your purpose doesn't insulate you from trouble, doesn't insulate you from heartaches, doesn't insulate you from things that blindside you. So you need to be aware that there are some downsides. In fact, there are things that are attached to the idea of you pursuing your purpose that are negative. That the moment you ascend to your purpose path and you start walking the walk of purpose, you attract some things that are not so good. There are things that come into your life that will be detrimental to the life itself, just because you're pursuing your purpose. And that should tell you something. It should tell you that you're on the right path. You see, woe to you if you think that you will not be challenged. Woe to you if you think that you will not face a crisis? Would you think, if you think that you will not go home, and you doubt yourself and you think that I am doing the wrong thing, I am running the wrong race, this thing does not pay. There are some things that you need to grapple with that accompany your decision to pursue your purpose. And by the way, if you do not know what your purpose in life is, you can go to lifesignatures.life. That is lifesignatures.life, and you can look around for the course for purpose discovery, and it will take you through an 8-step process that you can get help in knowing, in owning, and in deploying your purpose. So there is no way that I can tell you that once you've known your purpose and you've owned your purpose and you're deploying your purpose, you're now exempt from trouble. No, I'll be lying. So the following are some of the things that we've discussed so far. We've said that the very first thing that's going to come to you, which is the downside of your purpose discovery, purpose ownership, and purpose deployment, is the idea that you're going to have self-doubt. And self-doubt is not exercised in one day, neither is it exercised in one event. You will have to keep doing it over and over again until the time that you, in fact, maybe you might never even graduate from this. But the more you grow into your purpose deployment, the more confident you become. They normally tell us that fear is not a lack, confidence and courage is not a lack of fear. It's the same thing with this purpose discovery. Once you've known your purpose and you're deploying your purpose, doesn't mean that doubts are not there. In the midst of doubt, in the midst of, when you are second guessing yourself, the purpose is still being deployed. So one of the things you'll need to exercise, and one of the things you need to stand above, is the downside of self-doubt. The second thing that I would advise you to be aware of, this is now when it comes to relationships, which we're going to talk about today. But yesterday we talked about something about misunderstanding from the people closest to you. We gave you an example of Joseph in the Bible, who was misunderstood by his very father, his brothers, and did he have sisters? I don't know. Yeah, he had some sisters. His family basically misunderstood him. Jesus was misunderstood by his family, misunderstood by his followers, and some of his disciples. But today I want us to talk about something, and it's important that you understand that when you're pursuing your purpose, one of the biggest things you're going to face is something called rejection. Rejection is not necessarily because you are a bad person. Rejection is not because necessarily your breath is stinking, or you have a crooked face, or you're poor. It's not only negative. Rejection is also because you're doing the right thing. You have known your purpose, you're deploying your purpose, and for it, believe me, you're going to be rejected. You're going to be forsaken. Like Jesus Christ was saying, why have you forsaken me? You're going to be rejected by people. You're going to be rejected by people because, like we said yesterday, they do not understand you. And that's one of the reasons as why they're going to reject you. But also, they're going to reject you because maybe your purpose is communicating to them and making them know that they are also not deploying their purpose, and therefore you're standing out like a sore thumb, and you're making them uncomfortable by them realizing the fact that they're supposed to be also on their own path of purpose, but they are not. And you pursuing your purpose reminds them of exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They are comfortable, they are cozy, and therefore they do not want to be reminded of that, and therefore they'll send you out of their club. They're going to reject you. They're going to claim that you're different. They're going to claim that you are peddling misinformation. They're going to declare and maybe just create something that you are radical, you are far right, or you're far left, or whatever it is that they're going to create, because you're pursuing your purpose. Believe me, pursuit of purpose does not necessarily mean that everyone is going to come and embrace you, give you a bear hug, and sit at your feet and support you and push your cart up the hill. No, don't be naive. Pursuing your purpose is also going to attract heavy rejection from people from all over the place. In fact, some people that you ever even thought there will be people who would accept you, They're going to reject you just for the sake of your purpose pursuit. Not because you're a bad person. Not because you've done this and you've done that and you're wicked. No. Just because you're pursuing your purpose, people are going to reject you. Much as it is with misunderstanding, you can fire the people with rejection. Who are rejecting you. You are the one who is, the one whom they will fire. You fire people misunderstanding you by telling them to, showing them the door. But the guys who reject are the ones who show you the door, because they, for one reason or another, this has happened in our contemporaries. This has happened. If you look around, you know of people who were rejected specifically because they were quote unquote different. They were passionate about something, and so their voice doesn't need to be heard before. Trump supporters will tell you that he was rigged out for that very reason, because he was pursuing quote unquote his purpose. But let me tell you, there's a guy called Steve Jobs who founded his own company, and Steve Wozniak. We know the story. What happened? Steve was so totally different, they couldn't understand him, and the board, guess what? Fired him. You found a company, you start a company, you are the founder, and you build a board, and the board shows you the door. But the story ends well, because they realized that they did a mistake. When they fired the guy, their company lost direction, lost focus, they started failing, went into debt. They were not inspired. They were just doing nearly everything and anything that came their way. They were not defined, they were not definitive in any way. And they brought the man back, and it solved the problem, and the rest, as they say, is history. You see, that is the most apt story that I could share with you. The visionary who was unbowed, and he was so focused, but they could not buy into his vision, buy into his purpose. So he went ahead and made inroads elsewhere in the field of animation, Pixar, and did some deals with some fasts, with Disney and so on, and they had to bring him back. See, the bad news is that you'll be rejected as you pursue your passion. Billy Graham was rejected by a lover before he got married, because he was too much, into God. And also Bill Gates, I'm told, he approached a lady and she rejected him earlier on, before he was married to Belinda, or is it Melinda? The good news is that it's an indication. This rejection is an indication that you are different. You are onto something that does not fit the status quo that is generally accepted. And that's basically the definition of purpose. At times, maybe for the most part, purpose doesn't fit the status quo. For the most part, one of the definitions of purpose, one of the characteristics of purpose, is that it doesn't fit the status quo. And that is exactly why you will be rejected. Tomorrow we're going to look at another thing as a downside of your purpose pursuit. But until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.